Hello and welcome to the True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North, and I would like to thank our sponsors of the show, Quantum Awakening, Beth Lewis, and Anne C. Clark. Now, today you'll notice that it's just me. And the reason for that is because I've had quite a few people over the last few seasons ask me how would I answer the questions that I always ask all of my guests. And so today I thought that I would interview myself and I would answer those questions for you. So I hope that you enjoy the conversation with me, and I hope that you learn a little bit more about me as well. Hello and welcome to the True North Show. I'm your host, Megan North. I am a purpose finder, mental health professional, and guide for those ready to return to who they truly are. Here we explore what it means to live a life led by purpose, alignment, and deeper inner truth. Through real conversations, powerful reflections, and soul-led strategies, we'll uncover the stories, tools, and insights that help you navigate life's crossroads and find your own true north. So whether you're in the middle of a transformation, seeking clarity, or just curious about what's next, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Your path starts now. Okay, so usually my first question is, what was the defining moment that led me to pursue my true passion and purpose? So I had a 20 plus year career in HR. So my first career was I was a legal secretary, and then I was a legal secretary for 12 years, and then I stepped into the HR space. Now I'm the youngest of 6 children, so I was always curious about people. I always wanted to know more about people, and I'm very good being in a space around people, reading the room, and just wanting to understand more about where somebody is. So for me to step into the HR space, it kind of made sense. And I was in that space for over 20 years. And through that process, as you can see behind me, I've got a lot of oracle cards there. So I have always been very spiritually intuitive. And over the last 15 years, I started to do readings and for myself and then for friends. And then about 10 years ago, someone said, you should really do this and have people pay to have a reading. So I set up a little business, a side hustle, as most people call them, and I started doing readings for people. And I'm also an energy healer, so I was offering that as well. So I was doing that while I was still in the corporate world. And as I got into more and more senior roles, I loved my job, but it just wasn't filling me with passion and purpose anymore. I really wanted to get up every day and just do what I wanted to do. And the biggest thing for me was also that I wanted to work with people that I chose to work with. And I wanted to be able to manage my own diary. I wanted to be able to have time off when I wanted to and not have to ask permission from somebody. I didn't want to have to navigate that of what was happening in the organization. And so I decided 4.5 years ago to step into my own space. And it was a really, really big decision. And I was working in a really big organization, and I was about to be made permanent. And so I suppose that was a defining moment in the sense of, do I really commit to this role permanently? And I guess get stuck where I was, or do I finally pluck up the courage and have that confidence to move into my own space? And that's what I did. And so that's where this journey then started. And it was a lot of courage, and it was a lot of confidence. I actually had one of the senior guys in the organisation who ran the very large IT organisation in the business say to me, "I can't believe that you're doing this. You are so brave." And I sat back and I thought, actually, yeah, I am. I am brave to do this. But I just felt like I just needed to do what I wanted to do. And as I said, to work with the people and the clients that I wanted to work with. So I suppose that was my defining moment. I mean, nothing dramatically happened. It just was a point in time where I just felt like this was my next move. Okay, so my next question. How do I balance and maintain and prioritize my mental well-being in the midst of pursuing my dreams? This is really important, actually. When you work for yourself, you've really got to be strong with your boundaries, because you could be working 24/7, and the boundaries really do help you stay mentally well, because otherwise I would never have a break. And so I've always been quite firm with my boundaries, even in a working situation when I worked for someone else. And so I've kind of carried that through, but I've always maintained that unless I decide to work odd hours or on a weekend, then usually my diary is blocked. If for some reason I'm working with someone who is overseas, or we come to a mutual agreement of what works well for us, that's fine, because that's my choice. But managing my time and my diary is really important for me, for my well-being. So it's one thing I do. I'm an energy healer as well, so I do a lot of work on myself energetically to make sure that I'm in the right space. I also do go to work with other energy healers as well, because sometimes I need to get out of my own way. I've got a beautiful place here, my beautiful office, and if I look this way, I've got a huge window that looks out into just beautiful trees and greenery. So if I need to just have a quick 2-minute, just empty my brain and just reset, I'll often take my glasses off, because I don't need my glasses to look long vision. I just need them to look at the screen. So I'll often take my glasses off, and then I'll look out the window. Going out, standing in the sun, or even standing in the cool really helps me as well. And also just sometimes having some time just to do nothing. The biggest thing for me from a mental health point of view is I'm really good if I get bored, because when I'm bored, I feel like my brain actually empties, and then I get really, really inspired. So an example of that, a perfect example, is something that happened just this weekend. So I'm in Sydney and we've just had a long weekend. And so last week a few weeks ago, I decided to take the Thursday and the Friday off so I could have 5 days. And I really did switch off. I checked my emails, but I didn't really do any work. And then yesterday I was sitting on the lounge with a cup of tea, and I was watching. What was I watching? It wasn't a Bake Off, but it was the Great Canadian Pottery Throwdown, because I love those shows as well. And I was sitting there watching that, and all of a sudden I got inspired to write an ebook for something. And so I sat there and I beavered away and wrote an ebook. And so when my brain is empty, that's when I get inspired. So a lot of people think that being bored or not having something to do is actually a bad thing, but it's actually, for me, it's a really, really good thing. And I just find that my brain calms down, my mind slows. My body also has a rest as well, because if I'm bored, I know that I'm completely rested. And then it just gives me mental clarity to move on. So I hope that that inspires other people. But I would love to hear also what else do other people do in relation to keeping their mental well-being healthy while they're working and pursuing their dreams. Okay, so question number 3 is, can I share a significant challenge that I faced and how I overcame it to stay aligned with my purpose? So when I stepped out of my permanent role and stepped into this business, things were very slow. For the first 2 years, it was really, really slow. And financially, that was tough. I'd stepped out of a very, very nice corporate role that paid me really well into a business that had nothing going on. So what I did was I would do some HR consulting. Excuse me. I'd do some HR consulting. And so I'd step into some places for 3 or 4 months and do some work. And that for me at the time worked well because I was earning money. But what I found was if I stepped into a space for, say, 3 to 4 months, even if I was only working, say, 4 days a week, I really lost traction and momentum with the business, because then I was really tired because I was back in the corporate space and I was probably working above and beyond because I was in short periods of projects and those sort of things, helping clients. And so I found that the momentum would be slowed because I would step into a HR contract. I'd do that for 3 or 4 months, and then I'd need sort of a month to recover. So, it could be 4, 5, 6 months before I really stepped back into the business. And so at the beginning of 2024, I made a very, very hard line in the sand, and I said, I'm not going to do any more HR consulting. And my husband is very, very supportive. So I'm very blessed from a financial point of view that even though the business, excuse me, even though the business wasn't financially liable at the time, we were okay financially. That was all right. So I had a huge amount of support from him as well. And so it was basically hold on for the ride. Excuse me, hold on for the ride. And I did. And there were times where it was really frustrating and it was difficult because it wasn't really about the money for me, in the sense of I wasn't bringing in any money. It was more that I wasn't working with anyone or didn't have many clients. And all I wanted to do was just help people, help them on their journey, do whatever I could, speak about mental health and well-being, run some workshops and facilitate workshops for mental health and well-being. All of the things that I do, I wasn't doing that, or I only had a few clients. And so that was the hardest thing for me, actually. It was more just wanting to help more and more people. So there were a few moments where I said to my husband, that's it, I'm going to throw it all in and I'm just going to go back to HR full time. And he just kept saying to me, just hold on, just hold on. And so I did, and I'm really pleased that I did. So that was definitely a significant moment that I made, and a choice that I made to continue to pursue what I'm doing. So has my path to pursuing my passion and purpose evolved over time? So absolutely, it has. And it's really interesting because when I first started, I had 2 businesses. So I had a business, excuse me for my throat. I had a business where I was doing my cards and my healing. And then I had this other business where I was coaching clients and doing workshops for mental health and well-being. And I was running both of them at the same time. And so I had a foot in the spiritual world, and then I had a foot in the corporate world. And I was it last year, beginning of last year actually. I had a healing session with a woman in the US, and what I was doing at that time was, when with my coaching, I was calling myself the overwhelm coach. So I was helping people who felt overwhelmed to overcome the overwhelm. And when I spoke to her about that, she said, do you realize that you're actually making people feel more overwhelmed because you're telling them that you're going to help them as an overwhelm coach to get over their overwhelm? And you know what? I had this, it was like my brain exploded. I had this aha moment of, oh my gosh, I thought I was just genius in the sense of calling myself the overwhelm coach. Because when I said it, people understood what I did. But then I didn't realize that those who needed some help, who felt overwhelmed because I was the overwhelm coach. So I decided also to bring my two worlds together, to have the courage and the confidence to bring the woo and the corporate together. And so what I did was I dissolved the two business names, and then I relaunched as Megan North. And so that was a big decision for me, but it was one I think that needed to happen, because I was just constantly in these two worlds, and I was constantly reading the room and telling people I either did this or I did that. And so what I needed to do was say, well, actually, I needed to turn up holistically and actually say, this is me and this is who I am holistically. So my path has definitely changed, pursuing my passion and my purpose. And you know what? I'm okay with that. And I still pivot. I still change sometimes. Sometimes I think, oh, I might do this. This would be a really great idea. And then I think, oh, actually, I don't think that that's going to work. So I just don't pursue it. And then I move on. And that's okay, because it's my business and I can decide, what I want to do and what I want to pursue. The next question is, what practices or rituals do I incorporate into my daily life to stay grounded? Breathing is really important. So even just stopping and taking a breath really changes my energy. Like, even just doing that again, I've just completely calmed down. My nervous system has calmed down, and I can really feel my feet flat on the floor. And so I feel very connected again and back into the room. So I do that. Looking out the window again, as I said, sitting in the sun, or even if it's really cold, just going outside and just feeling that cold breeze on your face is really good. Feet on the ground. Meditation helps me as well. Just being present. Like, if you are present, if you'll just stop and just think, okay, I'm here, I'm sitting in my room, I can hear some birds, I'm here looking at myself on the screen, I'm listening to myself as well, but I'm really here and I'm really, really present, and I'm shifting out of my brain anything else that's happening at the moment. I'm really grounded because I've got no other space to be in but to be present, because I'm here. So staying grounded, however you want to do it, is really important as you work through pursuing your passion and your purpose and staying focused. Because there's so many different things that happen when you work for yourself or when you are pursuing a passion and your purpose, that to make sure that you come back into just the present state is really important. So whatever works for you. A lot of people do meditation. The breathing is really important. Some people might, I don't know, go and make a cup of tea and sit in the sun. I do that at times as well. It just depends. But whatever works for you. So, I mean, these things that I'm saying work for me, but they may not necessarily work for you. One of the things that I do work with my clients is we don't set goals per se, we do experiments. Now, the reason that I do that is because if you set a goal, so say for instance, I'm working with you, I'm working with a client, and they set a goal for the next fortnight. They set 2 or 3 goals. And for whatever reason, because in their mind, they think, okay, this is what I need to do, or I have to do, or I should do. So they put that goal in place and then they try to pursue it. And for some reason, it doesn't happen. Now, usually because we've said it's a goal, then they're actually going to feel like they've failed. And in truth, it's actually not a failure. They've just tried it and it hasn't worked for some reason. That's why we do experiments. So I say to them, experiment with this. If you feel like that you need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, experiment with that. Try 5 o'clock. If it doesn't work, try 5:30. If that doesn't work, try 6 o'clock. Try 6:30. Find what works for you, but start experimenting. And what happens then is that they actually find their own way and their own rhythm, and that what works for them, because they're just experimenting. So if something doesn't work, they're like, oh, well, actually, I'm just experimenting. So that didn't work. Let me try something else. And it actually works really well. So when people are giving you advice on what you should do, have a bit of a discernment on that and actually think, okay, well, I'm being given some wisdom or advice. Maybe I'll try it. I'll experiment with it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then try something else. Okay, so the next question is, what advice would I give to someone who is just starting to explore their true passion and purpose? So that would be, what advice would I give? So don't be too hard on yourself. Be really, really kind to yourself, and probably be patient. That's probably the biggest piece of advice I would give. Be patient. Now, when I first started my business, I built a website and I had this amazing website and I had business cards and all of that sort of stuff. And I launched, and then I was like, okay, so where is everybody? I then needed to do a lot of work, a lot of networking, speak to a lot of people in relation to that. And so that patience was very much needed, because it's not very often that you can do something that the next day you're a complete success. So patience, I think, is a very, very big piece of advice. What else would I give advice to for someone who's starting to explore? Oh, the other thing is probably even just start small as well. So if you've got a really, really good job and financially your family is depending on you, I wouldn't suggest that you just quit your job and start something. Maybe start it as a side hustle or a side gig. Start with it small and see how it goes, and then build that momentum. And then you'll get to a tipping point. You'll definitely get to a tipping point where you think, okay, now I've built this really amazing business. It's a side hustle, but there's a tipping point to me then going, okay, I need to make a choice. Do I let my permanent or my job go? And then do I bring that in? And you'll get to a point where then you need to make that decision. But I would say that if financially you need to work, then start it as a little side hustle or side gig and build that up. learn from people who have done that as well. The other thing is that think about who's in your inner circle. So I have a very small inner circle. I've only got about 4 or 5 people in my very true inner circle that I share everything with. My husband is one of them, so I share everything with him. And then the others, I don't necessarily share everything with them as I do with him, but it comes pretty close. But the other thing is that those people in my inner circle, they actually can offer different advice for me in different areas of what I'm doing. And I think that that's really important as well. The other thing that's really important too is that they're not just yes people to me, in the sense, I mean, that they will challenge me. And a perfect example is when I was rebranding and merging my 2 businesses. And a beautiful couple that are friends of ours, they've been friends of mine for a very, very long time. I shared with them my new potential logo, and they came back to me and they said, honestly, we don't like it. It's not you. It doesn't represent you. And so they actually were willing to challenge me on that. And then when they told me why, it actually resonated with me. And I said, of course, yes, I can see where you're coming from. So when you are starting to explore your true passion and purpose and wanting to bring that into your life and for it to be a full-time thing, I would definitely have a look at who is in your inner circle. Who are the people who are around you that you really trust, that you admire, and that you would respect? And who are the people that can give you some advice or challenge you on some things that you might want to be doing? Okay, so next question is, in what ways do I believe that my personal story can inspire or impact others? I'm just hoping that I'm being really honest in the sense of it wasn't easy. It's not easy. It's something that you just slowly chip away at and be patient about. So not everything that you believe, not everything that's on social media, I would suggest don't believe. And also, this is probably more of an advice, but I guess that this is how my personal story can inspire or impact others. Don't get too caught up on what's on social media and what people are saying, because I call BS on a lot of things that I see on social media. You know, sign up to me as a coach and in a week you'll be earning $100,000. Really? I call BS on that. Honestly, it would. I just call BS on it. And that's a really quick fix. And a lot of people get obsessed with the quick fixes and think, oh, great, I'm just going to step into this new thing and I'm going to become this person. And in a week, I'm going to be a millionaire. Highly unlikely. And so I think it's just be true to yourself and just chip away, this is what I did. I just chipped away slowly. I chipped away. I mean, I've got someone who's coaching with me at the moment, and I've known her for 10 years, and she came to me at the beginning of this year for an oracle card reading. And then she said, so she's already pursuing her passion and purpose, but she said, I need someone to help me be accountable in my business and to be able to share some things confidentially and to get some advice and support. We've known each other for 10 years. And so it's that slow process as well, is that a lot of the time, and what I'm finding in my business, particularly from a coaching perspective, is the know, like, and trust. The know, like, and trust is really important to understand. So people start to get to know you. then they start to like you, and then they start to trust you. And usually that's then when they start to work with you. I mean, I know myself, it would be very rare that I would invest in myself with someone that I don't know. Actually, I wouldn't do that. And so that's what a lot of people do. And there's so many choices out there now of how people can work with other people and what products and services they can get from other people, that know, like, and trust, I think, is really, really important. So I hope that these little tidbits of wisdom of what I've experienced will help other people if they are starting to pursue their passion and their purpose. Now I'm going to pop up here just for the last question. If people want to connect with me and you want to discover where you are on your journey, please use the QR code, and that will take you to a link to my calendar where you can pop in some time. Depending on where you are in the world, if that doesn't work for you, then please email me, and my email details will be in the bottom of this information, not on the screen here, but in the information provided, that if you wanted to email me as well. All right. So the last question, that is one of the questions that I ask all of my guests before we finish our conversation. So it's, what is one lesson or truth that I've learned on my journey that I wish I had known earlier? And I was thinking about this morning, actually. So for me, it is ask more people more questions. And what I mean by that is, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better in asking people advice and questions about things that I wanted to do. But when I was younger, I didn't necessarily do that. And in fact, I probably didn't use my voice as much as what I would have liked to. So there's lots of things that have happened in my life that I wish I had asked more people advice before making a decision. And I don't know whether my life would have turned out differently. Maybe it would have. Maybe I still would have gotten here at age 51 talking about myself on my own TV show. Maybe. But I just wish that I had been more, I think, courageous and confident to ask people their advice moving forward on decisions that I made. So that would probably be the one lesson or truth that I wish I'd known earlier. So there you go. That's a little bit about me. That's nearly 40 minutes of me talking to you non-stop about what I do. So if you want to explore more with me, then as I said, you can jump on and book some time with me. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, there's my website. But I hope that I have inspired or given you something to think about. I also hope that I've answered the questions that everybody was curious about in relation to me. And I hope that you've just enjoyed listening to a little bit more about me. So in saying that, I'd like to thank all of our amazing and dedicated audience, our supporters, and also our sponsors. And I hope that you all have an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting me through this journey of this amazing show. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The True North Show. I hope today's conversation brought you closer to your own sense of purpose and reminded you of the power you hold within. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's also walking the path of becoming. To continue the journey, head over to megannorth.com. You'll find resources, support, and ways to work with me one-on-one. Until next time, keep trusting yourself, following your intuition, and taking one aligned step at a time. Your true north is never lost. It's just waiting for you to come home.